What if burnout wasn't a business problem, but an identity problem? In this episode, I sit down with Bill Foss, a former real estate franchise executive turned identity coach, to talk about something most entrepreneurs ignore until it's too late: alignment. Bill built a nationally recognized real estate business, made millions, and still hit rock bottom. Not because the business failed, but because he was out of sync with himself. In this episode, we dive into why success cannot outrun your identity, how to stop building a business that doesn't serve the life you want, how to actually define your values without just picking the ones that sound good, the differences between imitating success and modeling it, and why most entrepreneurs don't even know what they're chasing and exactly how to fix that. This episode's not about the hacks, the hustle, or the strategy. It's about reprogramming how you think, how you feel, and how you build so that success actually feels like success when you get there. If you've ever hit a wall and thought, why doesn't this feel better? This episode is for you. Let's dive into it. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Deeper Than Dope podcast. Today, I have a special guest that was introduced by I was going to say one and only brother, but I got lots of brothers. He's not the one and only. He's one of seven. Brent. Anyways, Bill, I'm really excited that Brent connected us. I'm really happy that you're here on the show with us.
Likewise. Thank you, Ben. It's amazing how close the connection was.
Yeah. So,
Anyway.
Bill, I'd love to start just with a quick minute or two of your background, what you've been doing and where you're at.
Well, how long you want to go back to when I was 6 years old selling
Go
blueberries
six.
by the side of the
Yes,
street or
go
something more
there.
recent?
Let's go there because that's where I usually go to. I'm like, yeah, how far back? I'm in elementary school. Yeah, let's do blueberries.
I mean, it's crazy. I've been an entrepreneur since the beginning of time, it seems. I literally sold blueberries and strawberries on the side of a very busy highway I grew up on. I started doing, of course, lawn mowing and shoveling and hired friends and made the spread on what I charged. So it was ingrained from the start. And my parents are nothing like that. They both were accountants, a bookkeeper and a cost accountant. So
Okay. So how did you transition from that to building a ginormous real estate brokerage?
well, I got into the real estate business by accident. I invested in a three-family home when I was first married, and we had a child on the way, and I got totally hoodwinked. I'll use that instead of the word screwed. I got screwed. So I ended up in court, and I said, that'll never happen again. So I went and got my license. And back then, you didn't need to work for a broker to do that. I got my broker's license, figuring at least I'll know what I'm talking about. Then I thought maybe it's a good way to earn a living. And then 2 years later, I had my own brokerage and never looked back.
Okay, how old were you at the time and where was your I'm going to get into your education too.
I was 27. I was
Okay.
the vice president of personnel at a lumber yard, which I started working at when I was 15.
Okay. Okay, so you were there for quite a bit, 12 years. Did you go to college at all?
I have college. I don't have degrees.
Yeah. Yeah, I dropped out a semester left just kind of as like I don't need this, you know. Um, what's your advice on education to, somebody that's 15 years old right now?
It's not unlike what we're going to speak about today. You will know whether it's right for you or not. If you're passionate about it, go for it. If you're not, there are other ways. I mean, self-education, there's nothing wrong with it. And I believe I'm probably, and you as well, and anyone who's an entrepreneur probably has skill sets that far surpass MBA programs. So
Yeah, when I was building that solar company with Brent, and I thought I was gonna lose six figures that I put into it. I'm like, man, the only thing that even like gave me some solace was I learned more in a shorter amount of time, and it was still cheaper than Harvard, probably. Like, I don't know. I've never looked up tuition,
I
but
don't
that's kind
either.
of how I looked, and it all played out when kind of that focusing on working to learn, not to earn.
Yes.
Um, I got that, from the Rich Dad Poor Dad. Okay, there's to jump right into this, because there's a lot to dive into. A quote from you: "Success can't outrun your identity." What does that mean? And yeah, give,
Well,
give me that background.
again, it was amazing as I started to understand your podcast and where you were coming from. I too had great success and built a nationally recognized franchise of a major real estate brand, nationally recognized, had multi-million dollar revenue stream. And I reached the point where I looked around and thought, people are going to figure out that I'm not this bright. and I began to have a spiral of thought that I wasn't good enough. I'd basically outstripped where my head was at and found myself struggling with myself, not with anyone. Everyone else thought I was absolutely great, killing it. But inside, I had outpaced my identity. And what people don't realize is identity is more than just who we think we are. I mean, it's made up of a lot of things: self-worth, self-esteem, um, character traits, personality. There's a lot in there.
So
And
was it like for me and what I've seen a lot of people, you have to hit the end of the hamster wheel so many times to realize you're on the hamster wheel. And then you're like, crap, now I need to reform my way of thinking about life and society, the midlife crisis or whatever. Where did that come in? And I guess, yeah, walk me through that a little bit more through that personal journey and how you landed on, okay, now I need to focus on my identity rather than I need to just focus on more success or more
well,
money or more
actually,
whatever.
it took a long time. I'm not very bright sometimes. So I dealt with my personal issues, and it ruined relationships and it didn't ruin my business. I sold the business, but it was not what it was. And it ran very successfully for years after. But I then started coaching because that's what I had been doing, in essence, coaching real estate agents to become successful. And I spread out. I bought a national brand development rights for a franchise and began to sell and support franchisees and coaching them. And so I really began to get people to start thinking about alignment. How does it feel? Does it match who you are? Or are you just trying to force your way into things? And I came up with frameworks, and those were very helpful. But what I began to realize is my best coaching and my best consulting work fell to the wayside because they would fall back, or they wouldn't complete it, or they wouldn't engage in some of the activities. And what I realized is that was the issue. They're not going beyond what they think about themselves in a holistic way. And so they would fall back or struggle like I did. And so I realized I'm going to narrow my focus, never mind strategies and tactics and frameworks. Let's get to the real root of the problem. If you don't feel right about what you're doing and yourself and have clarity and where you want to go, and think from that end game, you're going to build something and the ladder's against the wrong wall and you're going to fall. And that's the reality. And so that's how I got here in a long way. But it took me to my mid to late 50s to
What an
figure it out.
analogy. The ladder's on the wrong wall. Um, so how do you know what the right wall is? I mean, everything that you said, like the don't force it, like I feel like that's what I've been getting into. And the more I let go, I got crushed enough. There's enough fires in my business that I just mentally I was like, I'm done. Like I can't put them all out. And then that for me was kind of a trigger point of like, oh wait, they didn't need to be put out.
They
Actually,
didn't need,
there's I, I was viewing my life as I just need to fix all these problems around me and then I'll feel good, right?
yes,
Rather than what you said, and this hit me about April of last year. That was my low. I said, again, nothing matters, just my patterns of thoughts. That's the only thing that really matters in life. So if I could put all my time, energy, and effort that I am as a great entrepreneur and a capital raiser or a salesperson and a whatever, and just hyper focus on, for me, it was thought patterns or identity or whatever it is. But man, it made all the difference for me. So burnout for me again, I was at burnout, past burnout, and then kind of occurred to me, how do you know if if somebody's in that situation right now, in that burnout, like how do they check if they're aligned correctly and if they even know what they want?
your last statement was it in a nutshell. Most people I've coached and consulted with, I have owners of businesses, brokerages, or mortgage companies, and they want to restructure their business. And the first question I say is, okay, what does that look like when it's all ideal and perfect? And how does it serve your lifestyle that you're in? I mean, I hope you're working to live, not living to work. And when you start asking those questions, it becomes very clear many people have no idea where they're going or why they're going. And when you start there and then you think from that end, and this is the thing I keep telling people, let's go there. It's all ideal. It's all, yeah, but I don't know if I can get that. I know that. I don't care. Just if it were ideal, what does that look like? And how do you know it's serving you? And how I have a simple sheet. What do I want? Why do I want it? And if the why I want it has anything to do with someone else, recognition or money or something outside of you, it's not the answer yet. That goes back over what you want. I want more money. I want recognition. And you go back over here, why you want that. If you get to that core thing and think from that and go backwards to where you are today, you get very clear on where you need to go, why you're doing it, and the motivation from within, the intrinsic motivation becomes so powerful.
That when you find that whatever it is within you, I'm assuming are you helping clients pick out an emotional states, or are we still talking like, I just need the bigger house?
No, it ends up being emotional. That's the point. The bigger house is what I want,
And
and the
then you have
why
to
you
go
want
back.
it is for something. And if that is to have my friends say how great I am because I have this big house, that's not it yet. That goes back over the what I want. I want recognition of my friends.
Okay.
Why
Yep.
do you want that? And you begin to finally get to the inner drivers, and there's no right or wrong. Everyone's different, right? So
Yeah.
what is it for you?
How out of 100 entrepreneurs, 100 franchisees that you speak with that own their own business, how many of them have established an emotional state on like how they want to live? Do you feel like?
Very, very few. I don't have a statistic. I just
I
know
I would say five or less typically,
maybe.
which is kind of crazy, because it doesn't hit you till it hits you. But like for me, when it hit me, I'm just like, what am I doing? Why would I ever work late to be with my kids later? Like I could be with my kids in a few years when I'm richer, but like no, it's just here right now. But again, you work so many years until it just clicks or it doesn't click. For me, when I started going to a therapist, and I still go to a therapist every other week, and I just talk business, it's hard to make business decisions for me. I'd love to hear your advice on this, Bill. If I'm trying to calculate all of the different scenarios in my mind on what's going to make me the most money, right? I don't know. There's too many variables and too many things. When I got a business coach and he said, you have to have a mission statement, I'm like, that's dumb. And I did it anyway. And then I figured out what I was after at the time. I feel it's changed a bit, but it was joy and fulfillment. And then adapting that. And then I'm like, okay, Mike, we got the mission statement. What's the business's mission statement? And he goes, that is the business's mission statement. Your business
Is
is
you?
there for you to take out
Yes.
your mission statement. So I was like, okay, all about joy and fulfillment. Now, when I'm making a decision on do I want this investor or this investor, or do we want to take on this money, or do we want to sell another franchise, whatever, it was so much easier to say which of these two options are going to bring me more joy and fulfillment versus which one might make me more money. Because I feel
That's
like I could always second guess myself on the might make me more
Yeah,
money.
absolutely. But that's the crux of what we're talking about. When you have clarity of vision, and vision is beyond mission to me. Vision leads everything when I work with someone. What is the ideal vision? What's life look like? What does your business look like? Who is in your business? What do your clients look like? And everybody says, well, I need to get more leads. Well, of course you need more leads, but you need the right leads. Well, what are the right leads? They're the ones that you resonate with best and that you can serve best and that feels right. And so many, and I know, especially in the real estate and mortgage world, which is where I spend a lot of my time, they take clients they don't want, they have referral partners they don't like to deal with. Well, their business sucks because they don't have clarity and they're not attracting the right people. I mean, it's all manifestation of the same issue here.
Most people, and I had an hour-long conversation with a entrepreneur friend of mine yesterday about this, on the letting go and, like, don't resist life. Like, there's so many opportunities. If your mind's clear and you're not stressed about business when you're not working, then it opens you up for the opportunities that do come. But it's easy for me to say because I've had financial success. And frankly, like, since I've been an adult, I was knocking doors, and you can make, multiple six figures in a few months knocking doors. So I've been very lucky to kind of fall into that. So I'm like, yeah, I'm letting go of all of the stress and it's working for me and this and that. The counter argument is, well, how do you let go of everything if, this everything still needs to be paid, or, and I had my answers and my advice on that, but I'd love to hear your thought, because I'm always preaching the same thing, and then the counter's like, yeah, but you're in a different position, and that is true. I am in a different position.
Yes, but behold the underlying truth is what but means for
Yep.
those who never heard that before.
Okay, I haven't.
But the behold the underlying truth, you have success because now you have success because you are the person who holds that accomplishment. Whereas when you were talking about burnout, you were doing it via force, not clarity, not alignment. And so what I coach people to do, get clear on where they're going. And now I have a whole process called the avatar method where you literally choose avatars, people that you want to be like, not because they've got it all down, but because it's a model. And once you understand who you want to be and why and what is it about that feels right, now when you're planning your business, you're aligning with that person. So you think as if you're already there. You have those personality traits. A person, well, you have $1 million. You don't worry about getting $1 million, right? But if
Right. Yeah.
somebody doesn't have $1 million and they're barely paying the bills, how do they think about that? Well, the mind has the ability to imagine as if. So you go there, this person is calm, they're relaxed, they're not thinking about money 24/7. Why are you? And until you bridge that gap, you will continue to struggle with money because you're coming from lack. Come from abundance, lack takes care of itself.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I've been doing pretty much every day this year, really getting into, the guy's name is Joe Dispenza. And
Oh
there's
yeah,
the
I know Joe
morning
very well.
visualization, whatever. But the key is like, yeah, you could visualize, and there's so many studies on the power of visualization, but it has to go a little bit further than just visualizing. You have to feel that emotion. Whether that's gratitude, for me, that's the best one that I go to and the easiest to feel, and the one that I feel usually the most powerful. Going to gratitude, and you just feel different the entire day. And then what he says is the meditations are, your body doesn't know the difference. If you're a millionaire, if you just feel like you're grateful because you live in the land that you could have $1 million, but what difference is there in your body? It's the same serotonin, it's the same dopamine, like it is the exact same. And then you're starting to prime your body to be in those states more often.
Exactly. The somatic piece of it is so important, how you feel. And that's what when you came back to making decisions, business decisions, there's shades of gray. There are a multitude of decisions that can be made, choices to make. But you can feel when you're clear, you feel which one aligns, which one is right for you. As you mentioned, we talk ourselves out of it sometimes, but that's this whole deal, right? That's understanding yourself, knowing who you want to be living. The order is be, do, have. Be the person who does the things that has the outcome. The outcome being, in your case, was having fulfillment and freedom. I forget what it was. And that's the outcome. People try to do their way to the outcome. If I do more, I'll have more money, then I'll be happy. No, be the person who's happy, do the things that happy people do that satisfies you, and you'll have that lifestyle that you're looking for.
Yeah,
It's flipped.
completely, yes. And the more I get into everything, especially like Eastern philosophy, I'm like, wow, we are so backwards on like how to,
We
like,
are.
I mean, even going to therapy. I'm a very big proponent of therapy, but this is typically what they teach you in like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yes.
You need to reframe something. So I'm feeling that I can't pay payroll next month or next week or tomorrow. It doesn't matter. So and then I have that thought, and then emotions and cortisol and blood pressure goes up, and then I need to reframe it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling this way. I shouldn't be feeling this way, and now I'm trying to resist it and control it and escape it. And because of that, my body reacts to that because now you're panicking more, and
It
then
adds
it
to
goes
it,
up,
right?
and it's just a cycle, and then it goes to your head, right? Where I'm like, and that's kind of what that like the textbook standard right now, and like what to do, where Eastern philosophy and mindfulness is just no, your brain's what's causing the issue. Like
Yes.
if you have an anxious thought and then responded by an anxious emotion, that's fine. Just pay attention to the emotion till it goes away
It'll go away.
with the
It'll
thought.
come and go.
And it's like, yeah, but very, very different. I don't even, oh, this is where I was going to go with this. Lion King. It's like one of the spin-off movies that my kids watch. I don't know. heard this yesterday. Rafiki, of course, the wise one, talking to the next young Rafiki, and he said the hardest part that like, hey, you got to listen, and they're talking about intuition, exactly what you're saying, like you can feel it. So he's teaching this young baboon monkey, whatever, like you have to feel it, you have to listen, and she's like, closes her eyes for 1 second, she's like, I can't hear anything, can't hear anything, and he says the hardest part of listening is being quiet enough to hear, and I think that goes back to the, like it comes back to quieting your mind. So what advice do you have to that? Like I don't, in my experience, I've never been able to even know what tuition is because my mind's always racing and it doesn't stop. And I feel like the nervous system for most of my life has been in hyperdrive. Just in the last year, it hasn't been. What's your advice to someone like me a year ago, I guess?
Well, I mean, you've already sort of described it, right? So I look at it this way. Let's just say you want a really nice car and you're all excited about it. You know how that feeling is, and you're driven to have the money to go buy the car, and you put it in your driveway, and you're really excited and proud. And then 5 days later, it's like, well, why does that happen? Well, that's all a story in your mind. When I get this, then I'll be happy, or when I get this. And our mind gives us these stories, and it's conditioned to societally, religiously, familially. I don't know if that was a word, but you get what I'm saying, right? We're conditioned. That mind filters things. So these stories are delivered to us based on our conditioned thoughts and a meaning we give to our experiences. And now this thought comes up, you can't make payroll, so then you begin to spiral. And the more you think about it, the more you get it. And the more you resist it, the more the mind will yell at you, right? So the way we quiet that is, again, we go to the end. What do we want the outcome to be? How do we want to feel? We want to feel calm. We want to feel like we've got it handled. Go there, and then you can become quieter, right? And then not fight with the mind story. We have thoughts, but we're not our thoughts. We have emotions, but we're not our emotions. And if we can allow them to come and go, they will come and go. There's some great work by Byron Katie, The Work. If you go through her 4 questions and a turnaround, you realize there are 15 ways you could have described that same problem, and realize that it was you made, as you already alluded to, you made up the story, you made up the meaning. What if you changed it and reframed it like you were talking about with behavioral therapy, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's crazy when like you could really say this to almost any statement. Like, is it? You know, like anybody, like, but I have to do this. Do you? And
Is
you
that
could just
true?
question it, and then you're like, wait a second. Why do I have to do anything? Who determines what I have to do? Only I determine what I have to do. Well, that's weird. So it's like now I'm just going to determine what I have to do is whatever fits in my day, typically in a 5-hour day. And if it doesn't fall out there, that I guess it means it wasn't meant to be done or wasn't supposed to be done, or I didn't have to do that. How do you, I mean, do you have advice on actionable steps, I guess, as one person is trying to go from forcing everything, I'm scrambling to make payroll, to little by little, you got to start trusting that life has always provided everything you ever needed every day and trust in that.
There's so many things. That could be a whole podcast for a week. Um, I just think one needs to understand how the mind works. We're not taught how it works. We're not taught about our emotions and how we filter things. I mean, the brain is always generalizing, deleting, and distorting. That's what it does, so that it can be efficient to keep us alive and safe. And that's what its job is. And so as soon as it gets away from that, it gets uncomfortable. That raises the emotions and that tension that we're talking about. If we could just understand it's being fed to us to keep us safe, and it's just trying to do its job to keep us alive, now we look at things differently, and we can chill a little bit and begin to calm down. I tell people right now, in this moment, and they get upset with me, in this moment, what's wrong? I said, without going back in time or forward into the future pacing or going back into memory, what's wrong right now? Well, I don't have any money. To do what? That's going forward or backward. Right now, what do you need money for? Right? And when they finally realize right now there's nothing wrong, everything is a distortion of the mind or a story, they get quiet.
Yeah,
They don't even know what to say to me.
you could then go back and be like, wait, so is this what the presence that I've been hearing all over
Yeah,
social media? Like actually thinking if I don't need to buy a hamburger right now and I don't need to pay rent today, not today, sorry. If I'm not handing over the paycheck right now, why am I worrying about it?
Exactly. But we do. And that's the
We
mind
do.
at work.
Yep. Do you have you heard the phrase the self is an illusion? Have you gone down that rabbit
Yes.
hole?
Oh, yes. I've been down so many rabbit holes.
I feel like, and I share that all the time, which like that's a weird way to phrase it. The self is illusion. If you've never heard that, you're like, what are you talking about? But the fact that you don't know what you're going to think before the thought arises, and everything is after a thought. An emotion comes after a thought, and an action comes after a thought. And if you could just step back and just observe experience for what it is, and it's nothing more than just observation. It's not doing anything. It doesn't have the ability to do
And
anything other than just observe.
it's not true or accurate. We all think our memories are accurate, but they're not. They're distorted. And we've created meaning that we gave it when we were 8 years old. Well, if you go back and see the whole scene all over again, other people didn't see it the same way you did, right? So it's not true.
Yeah, I mean, it's not true unless it's true to you, and you could just be like, "Oh, that's not true anymore," which is absolutely insane to think about. But once you start doing it in your brain, and you can see those thoughts come up, and then you just watch them as they leave and vanish into thin air, like where you could have panicked and now it's just gone, completely gone, and you're able to witness that rather than attached to it. Starts
Yeah,
to,
I have my master certification in neurolinguistics programming and hypnotherapy, and those things were amazing experiences to realize how much we can alter how we feel so quickly.
yeah.
It's a wonderful thing.
I've been doing so again, a year or so ago, it's all about the mind. It's all about the thought patterns that I have. I'm going to hyper focus on that. How do you increase neuroplasticity? Started getting into psychedelics, which I feel like were very, very great for my mind and getting me away from like a very rigid religion and lifestyle, to a little bit more open. Ketamine is legal nationwide. They could ship it. They ship it to my house. And anyway, for me, it's not so much the experience, but I felt like it's supposedly the studies within 72 hours after taking your neuroplasticity is increased by double digits. And it's like, if I'm already doing the meditation, all of that, should I be leaning on other, I would say shortcuts, like, similar to a phone or a computer, like we use all these shortcuts. But I think oftentimes when it comes to shortcuts with our mind, we're also like kind of taboo about it. Like, oh no, I will eat junk food, but I'm not going to take ketamine. Like what?
Right, right.
What are your thoughts about the rules, the rules of, I guess, shortcuts, shortcuts
Yeah,
of
I guess
whatever those may be.
I guess I don't have a lot of opinion one way or the other. I have some people I know very well who are very much in the same camp as you. It comes back to everything that we're talking about, whether it's business or whether it's this. It's alignment for you. How does it play out in your world? And if it's working, it's working. If it's not, it's not.
Yeah.
And only you can decide that.
So going back, Bill, what would you be doing differently day one of your business to avoid all the heartache and the burnout and the stress, and to make sure that you are aligned again from day one?
That's like day one. What's the end result? I mean, we've been hearing this for years. It's just most of us don't really think it through. What did Steve Covey say? Begin with the end in mind. And yet we don't. And what we do, here's the one that bothers me the most. This might land with a lot of your folks. We tend to want to imitate success. So we go to the gurus or the top producers or the whatevers within an industry and we say, that's what we're going to do. And there's a quote, I want to say it's Emerson, that said, to envy, and this is paraphrased, to envy is ignorance, to imitate is suicide. And we imitate, we don't model. In neurolinguistics programming, one of the things they teach is modeling, how people are thinking, what they do specifically, what they see, what they hear, what they do before they pull the trigger if they're teaching shooting, as an example. But what most of us do is we imitate. We go to someone who's showing the signs of success that we want, and we imitate them. We're not below the surface as to what's going on between their ears and in their emotions, so we copy what they're doing, and it doesn't work, and we wonder why. Well, because when we're saying the words, they don't come out the same way as when they're saying the words. When they're doing the writing of the marketing piece, it's not the same as what we're writing. We think it is, but it's not. It's different. So stop imitating. Where do you want to be? What does it look like? How is it serving your life, your family, your health, your whatever? And build it with that in mind. Know yourself, what your personality traits are. It's like people used to tell me, well, you should be networking. Well, guess what? I'm an introvert. Networking is like jumping off a cliff to me. I feel horrible afterwards. I always mess up because I'm so uptight. So don't tell me to go network. It won't work, right?
And
It's
it's
out
just,
of alignment.
yeah, it's just recognizing that you can get the same benefit doing something else. I mean,
Something else, right?
I mean, this is as good as any networking event. I mean, I got to know you better than I've known anybody at a networking event. There's so many different options, I guess. So, okay, I like that. I'm going to list a few activities that I did when I went through, like, because I also heard core values, traits. Um, this was the activity I did 3 years ago. I read a book. It was on F Your Business. It was only like an hour and a half. I liked it. And it had some activities in there. I texted 20 something friends and family. Um, and I had them all give me their top core values, what they think that are for me, whatever. And then I kind of clumped them up into similar words, threw them in a spreadsheet, ranked them. And then but I still had to put the personal touch because hard work was the number one, but I don't think that that's even valuable. I think that's cool sometimes, but anyways. But that was a really helpful activity to really see what other people thought. And then again, ultimately I made the decision. Writing my own obituary, that's actually where the hard work
It's a
came
good
out
one.
because
Yes.
I'm like, wait, Pablo Escobar probably worked pretty hard. You know what I mean? Like hard work is not any sign of anything other than hard work. So I'm like, I'm going to take that one out. But I didn't realize that till I wrote the obituary. But um, I guess a category of those things really helped me. Is there anything that you would add or advice or actionable tips that you've seen people use in the past?
The one you just, those actually are excellent exercises. But understanding your hierarchy of values is where I start with every coaching client. And they hate to do it. But here's the mistake that most people make. They go online and they see a list of 200 values and they choose from those. And what many of us do without knowing that we're doing it is we pick what we want our values to be. And I have studied and took the breakthrough experience with Dr. Demartini, and that flipped a big switch. Your life demonstrates your values. So if you're working hard, like burning the candle at both ends hard, there's a value being fulfilled that's driving that activity. And we rarely examine our values that are being demonstrated. Now, you can shift your values, of course, and you can choose to move them up and down the ladder as you desire to do, but that still takes understanding who you are being now, what's driving you now, and what you'd rather be. So you said hard work's not really the way. Well, okay, so you move that down and you move these up by linking other values to the ones that are really making you tick. People have 2 to 3 top core values that really drive their life. Everything else is an excuse around those.
Never thought about that. Because then I'm like, wait, crap, what are my values? Did I choose those? You know what I mean? Or is it because that's what I want it to be? Anyways, now I have to go reevaluate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, that's huge because it takes me, a lot of people get frustrated because I'll have 3 or 4 coaching sessions just to make sure they're not picking ones they want it to be.
Well,
Is it demonstrating? Is it being demonstrated in your life? That's the key question.
talking about identity, what's one big identity shift that you've had, and or a very common identity shift that you see in the lives of your clients that make the biggest impact?
Wow, that's a really difficult question. Identity is such a complex thing. And so it's a process, it's an unfolding, it's a discovery process. And it's a decision process, which most of us don't even think about how we can adjust our identity. So I don't have an answer. My biggest shift was understanding that we won't go further than what we will allow ourselves to go. And we need to understand what is it that moves us? What is it that keeps us stuck? What is it that we love? What is it that we despise? And just begin to deconstruct and reconstruct based on where we want to end up.
I feel like business always, every time business goes good, at least since I've started a franchise brokerage, this last one, it's gone better than any other business that I've done so far. I could notice myself probably a few times a week, just with a gut feeling of like, oops, it can't stay like this forever. And then, and then I could say, and then it feels bad, right? But if I could immediately say, oh, that's just another appearance in consciousness, just like the tree that I
It
just passed
is.
longboarding, and then it just vanishes in thin air. Where like 2 years ago, I would have been stuck on that for the entire day. And then
Yeah.
that a day turns into 3 days, and then your thoughts repeat, and then it's pretty much every day.
I'll give you the biggest techniques that I find impact most entrepreneurs, especially if they're in the sales end and driving the revenue stream of their businesses. So solopreneurs, whatever. You script your day. I learned this from Neville Goddard's writings, right? How do you want your day to go? Not a to-do list. You have these appointments. How do you want each of those appointments to go? What is the outcome you ideally want to have? How do you want to feel when you're doing those? That's scripting your day. You're doing it from the end of who you are when I have somebody I'm coaching right now, so I'll use his numbers. He's closing 4 to 5 mortgage loans a month. He wants to consistently do 10. So when he scripts his day, he does it from the perspective, if I'm the guy closing 10 loans a month, how do I go about this day? What am I not doing that looks like is on my plate? How do I get rid of those things? How do I go into these appointments? Do I even take those appointments, or do I say this isn't right for me? And so he scripts his day. At the end of the day, we revise the day. We look back. What sidetracked us? What emotional basket case did we turn into over something? How would we rather have handled that? And we begin to tweak the identity such that we handle those things with greater ease as time goes on. So those two are absolute necessity. And I just forgot what the third one was. Didn't I say there were three? I don't remember.
Those ones are
But
great.
those two alone will make such a big impact on your life.
Absolutely. I've had so many similar experiences and I'm hearing this. I'm like, man, I think the same. I guess I wish I would have, known that 5 years ago. But at the same time, you always have to look back and like, but then I wouldn't be able to relate to people if I didn't think I was going to die
Yes.
every day and I couldn't sleep. So
Yes.
a little bit different. Bill, this has been great. Thanks for letting me get through 3 of my 20 questions because we just we're so we'll have to jump on another podcast
I
and
was going to say, we can do it again,
let's
right?
do another one and we'll do a little bit more business and a little bit less. I mean, who cares about it? Business, really? This is the important stuff, but we'll do the business one anyway. Bill, where can our listeners connect with you? Uh, Learn more about and tell us just in the last minute or two also about your program, the SHIFT I.O.S.
Yeah. So that again was the distillation of frameworks and realizing people aren't going to do the thing that I'm coaching them to do if this isn't right. So I've narrowed my focus down to this area. Who do you need to be to do the thing you want to do? And are you sure you want to be that person and live that life before you start building it? Because again, ladder up the wrong wall has devastating results health wise, relationship wise. It just isn't worth the money, as you've alluded to many times, right? So that's the program in a nutshell. You can learn more at billfoss.com, period. My name.com. If you want to know specifically about Shift, billfoss.com/shift.
Awesome. This has been super helpful. I'm glad that we talked about that a little at the end because, again, what I just said about like who cares about the business side, which I mean, you're saying the same thing because it really doesn't matter if you have everything you've ever wanted in the world if your brain and your thoughts are saying, I don't like this, right? It's just that's the only thing you have to laser in. So I like that you've really simplified that and SHIFT I.O.S. Okay, Bill, thank you so much for your time. We
Thank
will
you for
do
having
this
me.
again in a few months if you're cool with that.
Looking
Thanks,
forward
everyone.
to it. Thank you.